What is the smallest lie you've ever told which had the biggest consequences? For more infotainment, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thanks for watching. When I was a young teenager that had just discovered what was, I would finish into an old white t-shirt of mine and throw it in the bottom drawer of my dresser. Months went by with this routine and the shirt ended up getting crusty yellow stains on it. Why I didn't use something more disposable or throw the shirt in the wash, I have no idea. My mother eventually found the shirt one day, after deciding to put my washed clothes in the dresser. I come home from school to find both my parents sitting at the kitchen table with the shirt in front of my spot. My mother starts to shriek about how terrible drugs are for you and that inhalants will destroy my brain. I was too ashamed and embarrassed to tell them the truth, so I shamefully apologized and owned up to using inhalants to get high. From then on, there were no aerosol cans allowed in the house and I had lost the respect and trust of my parents for the longest time. Ended up being extensively grounded and shamed, all because I decided to jizz in a shirt and wouldn't own up to it. In college, the girls in the apartment downstairs asked my roommate and I if we'd like to join them at a concert a month away. Neither of us wanted to, and my quick-thinking roommate said that date is my birthday. It wasn't, and we have other plans. They ended up not going to the concert, and we had forgotten about it, but on that date they called me downstairs to help them move something. I walked in the door, and surprise! A birthday party for me with about 15 people there. My roommate was just as surprised. I couldn't tell them the truth and just went with it. Even got a couple small gifts. I always felt guilty about it. My friends and I accidentally got a kid suspended. We finished the last class of our day before lunch on a Friday, and we were feeling pretty good, so we picked up a handful of rocks and tried to see who could throw them the furthest. Turns out one hit our teacher. She brought us into the office and made us tell the VP our story. Since she wasn't in the room, we lied through our teeth and made up a description of a kid we'd never seen before. A week later, the guidance teacher approaches us and tells us she's glad we didn't take the blame for the kid who threw rocks because the principal found out who it was and he's be getting a 3-day suspension from school. Suppose that the principal and the teacher were not dumb and realized that children lie when in trouble. The teacher wasn't thrilled about being hit by a rock, but thought a stern talk and understanding of the seriousness of the issue was sufficient. So they let you off and tell you later that someone was suspended over it, even though nothing actually happened. That way they retain your perception of the serious nature of the consequences. Once when I was a kid I invited a kid that I bullied horribly over to my house for a sleepover because I was told I had to do something nice for someone I hurt by our priest during confession. I went to a Catholic school. The next day after a pretty boring night we were playing in the snowbanks and I lied telling him my foot was stuck and I couldn't get it out. He ran well over a mile back to my house to get my mom to save me. Well, that kind of woke me up and made me realize this kid isn't that bad. After that day I never bullied anyone again, and 20 years later that turd that I bullied so terribly is still my best friend, was the best man at my wedding, and the godfather of my first child. I like the stories where OP learns a lesson and the story has a happy ending. Once when I was around 6 or 7 my mom brought home some delicious chocolate, and gave some to me. I loved the stuff and stole the bar that she had saved for my stepdad. He comes home and my mom can't find the chocolate. She asks me what happened to it. I blame the Duncan, our dog, knowing that he often eats things off the counter. I didn't know at the time that chocolate was toxic for dogs. My mom goes terribly pale and rushes Duncan to the vet, and he has to throw up. I felt terrible about this as I thought it was because he stole the chocolate and was some form of punishment. The next day she brings home more chocolate. Nobody told me that it was for Duncan's own good that he was taken to the vet. So feeling bad for doing this to Duncan, I give him my chocolate this time thinking he deserved it after taking one for the team last time. Later that night my mom asks me how the chocolate was. This time I decided to tell the full truth and explained that I gave the chocolate to Duncan this time as I felt bad for getting him in trouble the first time. So another late night trip to the vet, and I finally was told that chocolate is toxic for dogs. Duncan was fine in the end, and for the rest of his life I snuck him meat and other things that would not kill him. Now the twist is that the very expensive vet's trips cost a lot of money, which prompted my mom to take a look at our expenses. She found that the then stepdad was hiding an affair, and then got a divorce. TLDR, I lied about our dog almost dying, then almost killed him on accident, causing my mom to get divorced. Edit, sweet, gold. Also yeah, the chocolate probably wouldn't have killed the Duncan, but we didn't want to risk it. I've told this story before, but during my undergrad I took a number of business courses. During one of these courses we were learning about a small company that produced high-end jam. The prof asked the class what we thought of high-end jam as a business. I said that it was a stupid idea. Why would I pay $20 for a bottle of jam when I could make it myself? I meant that as a rhetorical question, but apparently my prof took my literally. When I was packing up at the end of class, the prof came over to me and started asking me all sorts of questions about jam making. So I rolled with it. I lied and told him how my grandmother taught me how to make jam, when the right time to pick the berries was to ensure optimal jam, etc. I don't know how to make jam. I had no idea what I was saying, but the prof bought it. We became buds. After every class we would chat, mostly about jam. He wrote my reference letter to get into my competitive undergrad program and again when I applied for my master's. I owe most of my academic career to jam. Being the youngest sibling, I was always getting razzied, so one time they told me as I was starting school to look out for the fiery drill. I had never been in school, so I asked what it was. You will hear a loud bell that warns children when this man comes to the school and attacks with a drill that's on fire and tries to drill into the kids' brains. So a few weeks into school there is a fire drill, so I take off screaming like crazy, hoping to survive running as far away from the school as I could. My mom was not too happy with my siblings when she got the call from our school telling her I was gone. Oh man! When I was 7 I had been learning how to play the keyboard for 2 years. It was one of those Casio keyboards that had light-up keys to learn how to play a song. If you put the easy setting on, you could literally hit 1 or 2 keys over and over again and it would play the entire song through. So at the age of 7 my grandparents thought I was a prodigy. I could play Fur Elise, Canon in D and Moonlight Sonata. Family and friends would come over to listen/watch me play and were astounded. 2 years or so go by like this. For my 10th birthday my grandparents bought me a real piano and signed me up for a summer camp where prodigies of different instruments went to compete. Very expensive. My entire family, friends from school and a priest family friend was there for my birthday party and wanted to hear me play on my new piano. I broke down crying and ran to my room and confessed to my grandmom what I had been doing for years, and it broke her heart and trust for me. I still cringe when I think about it. I've been playing for over 20 years now though and can play all of the songs I listed and probably hundreds more now. My first year walking to school alone was the 7th grade and I was late a lot. It got to a point that the teacher told me I would have to do all the day's chores, putting chairs down in the morning, wiping boards clean, cleaning after lunch, etc., if I was late again. Well, the next day I was running late as usual. Being a lazy sob, I knew I had to do something to get out of doing the daily chores. So when the teacher asked me why I was late, I thought back on the assembly we had a few weeks prior on school safety. So I told the teacher that a strange man pulled up to me when I was coming into school grounds and asked me to come with him to see some puppies. I honestly thought that would be a good enough excuse and it would be the end of it. Nope. School was suspended for the rest of the day, police were called, my parents were called in. And I was interviewed for the entire day. Had to describe the man, the car, everything. They ended up hiring a security officer for the grounds because of that incident and put in a few new cameras. We had monthly school assemblies because of it too. And it was all for nothing. Because less than a week later I was late again and had to do all the daily chores.